What the valet said slammed into me like a runaway semi. "Sir, your wife left about an hour ago, with another man." I was standing right there in the hotel lobby, still wearing my work clothes, gripping the anniversary flowers I'd sped across town to deliver. 24 red roses. Her favorite. I'd picked them out myself. The valet, just a kid, maybe 22, shifted his weight and wouldn't quite meet my eyes. He looked nervous, like he hated being the one to say it. I thought you should know," he added. They got into a black Mercedes. He had his hand on her back. He hesitated, then said it anyway. They were laughing. My phone suddenly felt heavier in my pocket, like it knew what I was about to find. I pulled it out and opened our text thread. Her last message was from 3 hours earlier. "Girls' spa night. Don't wait up. Love you." I stood there in that polished marble lobby, high ceilings and soft music, holding expensive flowers in one hand and my phone in the other. And something inside me snapped into perfect clarity. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Calculation. I typed one sentence. "Enjoy tonight. Things are about to change." Then I hit send. After that, I walked straight out of the hotel, climbed into my truck, and made 3 phone calls. Those calls changed everything. My name is Ethan Walker. I'm 39 years old, and I've spent the past 15 years building my life in Denver, Colorado. I work as a commercial real estate developer. Not the flashy kind you see on TV. I don't build glass skyscrapers or luxury high-rises. I build strip malls, medical offices, storage facilities. The unsexy stuff. The kind that actually prints money. I bought my first property in 2009, right after the crash, when everyone else was terrified. It was a distressed shopping center in Aurora. $400,000. I fixed it up, found tenants, cleaned it up. 3 years later, I sold it for $1.2 million. I rolled that money into 2 properties. Then 4. Then 8. By the time I turned 35, I owned 17 commercial properties spread across the Denver metro area. Total value? Around $47 million. Net income each year? About $3.2 million. And my wife, Laura, had no idea. Let me rewind. I met Laura 8 years ago at a charity fundraiser. Some children's hospital event. I was there because I'd donated. She was there working the room. She sold pharmaceuticals. Smart, confident, beautiful, the kind of woman who could talk to anyone and make them feel seen. She came up to me at the bar and said, "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else." I laughed. That obvious? Only to someone who feels the same way, she said. We talked for 2 straight hours. She was sharp, funny, ambitious. She told me she was tired of dating men who felt threatened by a successful woman. I told her I was tired of dating women who only cared about what I could buy them. "So what do you do?" she asked. "Real estate," I said. "Mostly small properties." "Sounds boring." "It is," I said. "Nothing exciting." That wasn't a lie. Just not the full truth. We dated for a year and got married in 2017. And the whole time, I never gave her the complete picture. Here's what I learned early about money: it doesn't change the person who has it. It changes the people around them. I learned that lesson the hard way. When I made my first million, I was dating a woman named Ashley. The moment she found out, everything shifted. Suddenly she wanted a bigger ring, a better apartment, designer bags. She didn't want me. She wanted access. So when I met Laura, I made a choice. I wouldn't hide my money, but I wouldn't advertise it either. I told her I owned a few properties and did fine. I drove a regular truck, a 2015 Ford F-150. We lived in a nice but modest house in Highlands Ranch. No Rolex. No first-class flights. No money talk. I just lived. And for a while, it worked. Laura made good money, around $140,000 a year. She paid for her car, her clothes, her personal expenses. I covered the mortgage, utilities, groceries. We split vacations. It felt fair. Balanced. She never pushed to see bank statements. Never asked about tax returns. Never questioned my business. And I never volunteered more than she asked. But over time, little things started popping up. Small comments. Quiet resentments. My friend Karen's husband just bought her a Tesla. Why don't we ever go anywhere nice? I saw the cutest bag at Nordstrom's. $3,000. Can you believe that? She'd say it like she was joking. Like she was mocking the price. But her eyes always told the truth. She wanted that bag. That car. That lifestyle. And somehow, it was my fault she didn't have it. The truth was, I could have bought her 10 Teslas without even noticing the charge. But I wanted to know if she loved me without them. Turns out, she didn't. The affair started about 6 months earlier. I didn't catch it right away. I was busy closing deals, managing tenants, handling construction problems. But the signs were there. Late nights. Work dinners. A new perfume. She started dressing differently. More effort. More skin. And none of it was for me. It was for someone else. His name was Michael Turner. I found out by accident. Laura had asked me to pick up her dry cleaning on my way home. When I grabbed the bag, a receipt slipped out. It wasn't for dry cleaning. It was for a hotel. The Crawford. Downtown Denver. $450 a night. The date? 3 weeks earlier. The same night she told me she was at a sales conference. I stood there in the parking lot, staring at that receipt, feeling like the ground had tilted under my feet. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I hired someone. His name was Marcus. Former cop. Now a private investigator. I need to know everything, I told him. Who? When? Where? How long? He looked at me and said, "You sure you want the truth?" I'm sure. 2 weeks later, Marcus handed me a folder. Inside were photos. Time stamps. Hotel records. Restaurant receipts. Laura and Michael. Laughing. Kissing. Walking into hotels at 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. Michael Turner. 34 years old. Investment banker. Drove a black Mercedes S-Class. Everything I wasn't. Flashy. Loud. Expensive. Marcus even pulled his financials. The guy was drowning in debt. Big salary. Bigger liabilities. He looked rich. He wasn't. But Laura didn't know that. She just saw the car. The suits. The dinners at places with French names. And she thought she was trading up. That night, I sat alone in my home office. The folder was open, and the contents were spread out across my desk like evidence at a crime scene. Photos. Time stamps. Hotel names. My wife. Another man. Rooms that cost more per night than most people's monthly rent, places I could have bought outright without flinching. I should have felt wrecked. Furious. Completely shattered. Instead, I felt steady. Because everything finally made sense. Laura didn't love me. Not really. She loved the version of me she'd built in her head. Or more accurately, the man she thought I should become. And now she'd found someone who looked like that fantasy on the surface. That was fine. She could have him. But before she walked away, I wanted her to understand exactly what she was leaving behind. Over the next 3 weeks, I didn't spiral emotionally. I got organized legally. My first call was to my attorney, Daniel Price. We'd worked together for years. He handled every property deal I'd ever done. I need to make sure I'm protected, I told him. Completely. Expecting trouble, he asked. Not expecting it, I said. Preventing it. Daniel laid everything out clean and simple. First, every property I owned was held under its own LLC. Separate entities. My personal name wasn't attached to the deeds, the companies were. Second, those LLCs had all been formed before the marriage. Premarital assets. Third, I'd been disciplined about keeping finances separate. Laura's name wasn't on a single business account. She'd never signed a contract, never been listed as a member, never touched the paperwork. She has no claim to the businesses, Daniel confirmed. But the house? I asked. We bought it during the marriage. He paused. That one could be argued as a marital asset. I smiled. What if I didn't buy it? Daniel looked up. What do you mean? What if one of my LLCs purchased the house, and I've been paying rent to my own company? He leaned back in his chair. Have you been? I am now. I restructured everything. The house. Our home. The place Laura believed we owned together was quietly transferred into one of my holding companies. I drafted a lease agreement, market rate rent, signed by me as both landlord and tenant. Clean. Legal. No cracks. Then I did the same thing with the vehicles. Her Audi? Leased by the company and assigned to her as a benefit. The furniture? Bought by the LLC and included as part of the rental. Even the artwork on the walls, the pieces she'd chosen, the ones she loved, belonged to the company on paper. Legally, Laura owned nothing. She just didn't know it yet. I gave Marcus one final assignment. I need to know when they're together, I told him. As it's happening. You trying to catch them? He asked. No, I said. I'm trying to time it. He set up discreet, legal monitoring. And then I waited. The call came on a Thursday evening. I was walking through a new medical building with my project manager, reviewing progress, when my phone buzzed. Marcus. They're at the Crawford, he said. Checked in about 20 minutes ago. Room 1847. I glanced at my watch. 6:47 p.m. Thanks, I said, and hung up. I turned to my project manager. I've got to head out. Family emergency. I drove downtown, but not to the hotel. I stopped at a florist 3 blocks away and ordered 2 dozen red roses. Our anniversary was still 2 weeks out, but I wasn't waiting. Card? The florist asked. No card, I said. I'll take them myself. At 7:30 p.m., I walked into the Crawford. Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. The kind of place where a cocktail costs $18. I was still in my work clothes, jeans, boots, flannel. I looked like I'd taken a wrong turn from a construction site. Which, technically, I had. The valet stood near the entrance. A young guy, maybe 22, wearing a burgundy uniform. I walked up to him. Excuse me. I'm looking for my wife, Laura Walker. Have you seen her? His expression shifted instantly. Uneasy. Guilty. Sir. It's okay, I said evenly. I just need to know if she's here. He swallowed. Your wife left with another man about an hour ago, sir. The words just sat there. They got into a black Mercedes, he continued. He had his hand on her back. They were laughing. I nodded once. Thank you for telling me. I'm really sorry, sir. Don't be. I stood there for a moment, roses in hand, then pulled out my phone and opened our text thread. Her last message. Girls spa night. Don't wait up. Love you. I typed one sentence. Enjoy your last night in my house. I hit send, turned around, and walked out. I didn't go home. I went straight to my office. First call, Daniel. It's time, I said. You sure? He asked. I'm sure. I'll file first thing in the morning. Next, I called my property manager, Linda. I need the locks changed at the Highlands Ranch house tonight. Tonight? She asked. Tonight. And I need full documentation, photos, inventory, everything. There was a pause. Ethan, what's going on? I'm protecting my assets. She didn't push. I'll have a crew there within the hour. Last call, Marcus. I need her served tomorrow morning at her office. At work? He asked. I want the message clear, I said. This isn't a negotiation. Consider it done. I stayed in my office until midnight, staring at my phone. Laura hadn't responded. She was probably still with him, laughing, celebrating, convinced she'd gotten away clean. At 12:47 a.m., my phone finally buzzed. Laura, what are you talking about? I didn't reply. 3 minutes later. Ethan, answer me. Then. This isn't funny. Then. I'm coming home. I typed one word. Don't. She called. I ignored it. She called again. And again. I turned off my phone and slept on the couch in my office. For the first time in months, I slept straight through the night. The next morning, I was up at 6. Showered at the gym. Grabbed coffee. Drove to a job site. At 9:15 a.m., Marcus sent me a photo. Laura, standing in the lobby of her office building, clutching a manila envelope. Her face was pale, stunned. The caption read, "Delivered." I studied that photo for a long time. Then I locked my phone and went back to work. She called 47 times that day. I didn't answer. She texted. We need to talk. This is insane. You can't lock me out of my own house. I have rights. Ethan, please. I replied once, at 5 p.m. All communication goes through my attorney, Daniel Price. His number is on the papers. That was it. By the end of the week, Laura had hired a lawyer. Her name was Rebecca Sloan. Expensive. Aggressive. And famous for destroying men in divorce court. A few days later, Daniel forwarded me a letter from Rebecca. She was demanding immediate access to the house, the vehicles, and full financial disclosure. The tone was aggressive. Threats of sanctions if I didn't comply. Daniel called me right after. She's coming in hot. Let her, I said. She's going to claim you're hiding assets, he warned. That the LLCs are fake. That you're trying to defraud her. Can she prove any of that? No, he admitted. But she can make it loud. Then let it be loud, I said. I've got records going back 8 years. Everything's clean. Daniel sighed. All right. Just understand this is going to get ugly. It already is. 2 weeks later, we were in court for the first hearing. Temporary orders. The judge would decide who got what while the divorce played out. Laura wanted the house, her Audi, and $10,000 a month in temporary support. I sat across from her in the courtroom. She never once looked my way. Rebecca stood first. Your Honor, my client was locked out of her home without notice, denied access to her belongings, and left without financial support. The judge, Margaret Alvarez, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes, turned to us. Mr. Walker? Daniel stood. Your Honor, the property in question is not owned by Mr. Walker. It's owned by Walker Holdings, LLC, which was established in 2014. He continued, Mr. Walker is a tenant. Rebecca scoffed. That's ridiculous. He's attempting to hide assets. I'm not hiding anything, Daniel replied calmly. I'm clarifying ownership. The LLC owns the property. Mr. Walker pays rent. Mrs. Walker was a guest. Judge Alvarez frowned. Mrs. Walker never signed a lease? No, Your Honor. Did she contribute to the mortgage? There is no mortgage, Your Honor. The property was purchased outright by the LLC. Rebecca jumped in. This is clearly a sham designed to. Do you have evidence that it's a sham? The judge asked. Rebecca hesitated. Well. If the LLC predates the marriage and Mrs. Walker never held an ownership interest, Judge Alvarez continued, then it's not a marital asset. Rebecca's jaw tightened. We'll be filing discovery requests. You're welcome to, the judge said. But until you can prove otherwise, Mr. Walker is not required to grant access to property he does not own. She turned to me. Mr. Walker, where is Mrs. Walker currently staying? With a friend, Your Honor. And the vehicle? Also owned by the LLC. It's been returned to the company. Laura's head snapped up. You took my car? It wasn't your car, I said evenly. Judge Alvarez brought the gavel down. Enough. Mrs. Walker, you'll need to make your own living arrangements. Mr. Walker, you will provide a list of Mrs. Walker's personal belongings. She'll be granted supervised access to retrieve them. Your Honor, Rebecca started. That's my ruling, the judge said. Next case. Outside the courtroom, Laura blocked my path. You're unbelievable, she hissed. You're really doing this? Doing what? I asked. Protecting what's mine? I'm your wife. You were my wife, I corrected. Now you're someone who made a choice. I made a mistake, she said. You made a choice, I repeated. You chose him. You chose hotels, lies, and pretending I wasn't enough. Her eyes filled with tears. Ethan, please. We can fix this. No, I said quietly. We can't. I walked away. I heard her break down behind me. I didn't turn around. Over the next 3 months, Rebecca tried everything. She subpoenaed my business records. Daniel handed them over every LLC, every property, every transaction. All legal. All separate. All either premarital or properly shielded. She accused me of commingling funds. Daniel showed clean accounting, personal expenses paid personally, business expenses paid by the businesses. She claimed I used marital money to grow the company. Daniel proved the growth came entirely from reinvested profits. She demanded a forensic accountant. The accountant confirmed everything. Every move Rebecca made ran into a wall. Not because I was cruel, but because I'd built those walls carefully, years before, to protect what I'd worked for. 4 months after I filed, we were back in court for the final hearing. Rebecca made one last push. Your Honor, my client was married to Mr. Walker for 8 years. She supported him emotionally, maintained their household, and contributed to their shared life. She deserves compensation. Judge Alvarez looked at me. Mr. Walker? Daniel stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Walker earned approximately $140,000 a year throughout the marriage. She maintained her own career and finances. She was never dependent on Mr. Walker. She lived in his house, Rebecca shot back. She lived in a house owned by his company, Daniel corrected. Rent-free, as a courtesy. She drove a vehicle provided by the company. A company car assigned as a benefit, Daniel added. Rebecca raised her voice. Your Honor, he's playing games. I'm following the law, Daniel said evenly. Mrs. Walker is entitled to half of the marital assets. Mr. Walker's business is not a marital asset. Judge Alvarez flipped through the file. Read silently. Then sighed. I agree, she said. Rebecca's face fell. Mrs. Walker is entitled to half of the joint accounts, totaling approximately $40,000. She retains her personal belongings, her retirement account, and may acquire her own vehicle independently. She looked at Laura. Mrs. Walker, I understand this is disappointing, but the law is clear. Assets established before marriage and kept separate are not subject to division. Laura's voice was barely audible. That's it? That's it. The gavel fell. Outside the courthouse, Laura stood on the steps, lost in hollow. I walked past her, then stopped. For what it's worth, I said, I would have given you everything if you'd just been honest. She looked up at me, mascara streaked down her face. I didn't know. You didn't ask, I said. You just assumed I wasn't enough. I handed her an envelope. What's this? She asked. A check. $50,000. It's not required. It's not part of the settlement. It's just to help you land on your feet. She stared at it. Why? Because I'm not trying to destroy you, I said. I'm protecting myself. I walked away. That was the last time I ever saw her. 6 months later, I sold one of my properties for $8 million. I used the profit to buy a penthouse in downtown Denver. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A clean view of the mountains. I didn't buy it to show off. I bought that place because, for the first time, I didn't have to pretend anymore. I wasn't shrinking myself. I wasn't keeping quiet to make someone else comfortable. I could finally live openly. After a while, I started dating again. Not rushing it. Not chasing anything. Just taking my time. That's how I met Claire. She's a teacher. Makes about $52,000 a year. Drives a Honda. Cuts coupons. Thinks a $100 dinner is a big deal. On our third date, I decided to be honest. There's something you should know about me, I said. I'm financially comfortable. She laughed. Comfortable? What does that even mean? It means I own some properties, I said. I do all right. How all right? She asked. I took a breath. Very all right. She looked at me for a long moment. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want secrets, I said. Not like that. She nodded, thought about it, then asked, Does it change who you are? No. Then it doesn't change how I see you. That was it. We've been together for a year now. She still doesn't know the exact numbers. And she's never once asked. Because she's in love with me, not my balance sheet. As for Laura, I heard through mutual friends that she and Michael split up about 3 months after the divorce was finalized. Turns out, his big lifestyle was propped up by credit cards and loans. When the bills came due, the Mercedes was repossessed. The expensive dinners disappeared. The illusion cracked. She's working again. Same job. Same salary. Starting over. By herself. I don't take any pleasure in that. But I don't lose sleep over it either. Here's what this whole thing taught me. You can't build a future with someone who doesn't recognize your worth. You can't love someone into respecting you. And you can't protect yourself after the damage is already done. The protection has to come first. You build the walls before the storm hits. I built mine slowly. Legally. Quietly. Not because I expected betrayal, but because I valued what I'd worked for too much to leave it exposed. When Laura walked out of that hotel with another man, she thought she was stepping into something better. She didn't realize she was walking away from everything. If this story hit home, leave a comment and say, I built walls. If you've ever been underestimated. If you've ever protected what you built. If you've ever watched someone understand too late what they lost. This one's for you. Subscribe for more stories about the quiet strength of preparation. Because the best revenge isn't rubbing their face in what they lost. It's being so well protected that losing you was the only outcome left.